everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bower. I'm Ryan Steffen, the Executive Director of Bower Center for the Arts here in beautiful Bedford, Virginia. This podcast is all about inspiring conversations, exploring the arts in our community, and shining spotlights on the incredible individuals and organizations that make the Bedford art scene so vibrant. So I am excited today to welcome our guest, a local artist and new instructor here at Bower Center for the Arts, Beverly Schideler. Hello, Beverly. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I'd love to start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Beverly?
Okay. I became interested in art. My mother used to get these Reader's Digest abridged books, and I read stories about Michelangelo and Rodin. I was 9, 10 years old. And I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be a sculptor. And of course, put that away. That wasn't really something that was encouraged in the environment that I lived in. And so many years later, I decided if I was ever going to do it, I should probably get started. And at that time, there weren't a lot of classes. There was no online. Mm-hmm. So it was about getting books from the library and getting materials and just practicing and learning. And even then, it was just something I did. It was fun. But then they had an art show. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go do this art show. It wasn't juried. And so I took my little things down and I had this terrible booth. It was like 2x4s and sheets flapping in the wind. And I hung my little art up and people bought it. Some people actually liked my stuff enough to part with their money and take it home with them. And I went, okay, this is good. And so that was probably about 45 years ago. And I've pretty much made my living since then doing art and just gravitated from one medium to the next. I started in sculpture. Then I worked with builders and interior designers doing architectural ceramic installations, working in clay. From there, I went to assemblage work and mixed media work and have tried a bunch of different things just to experience them. And now I'm doing fiber art, which I never would have thought in a million years that I would be doing fiber art.
Well, I'm going to rewind and we're going to come back to this. So did you grow up in this area?
I actually grew up near Mount Olympia in Washington State. Yeah. And
since I'm always curious, so how'd you land here?
My mom and dad moved here and they were getting older. They kind of retired up north in I guess it's South Pulaski area. Okay. And they were getting older and it was just too difficult to spend time with them. And they weren't going to be here forever. So sure. I moved here. And at first it was a struggle, but now I can't imagine living anywhere else. It's such a beautiful state. And there's so much here.
And there's just something so magnetic about this area. Yes. Anybody that's listened knows that I'm also not from here.
Yes.
But I've found that I've easily and quickly fallen in love with the landscape, the people, the area, everything about it. There's a wonderful supportive arts community that I was a little afraid I wouldn't find and found almost immediately.
Yeah.
Here. So have you always done art your whole life?
No, I actually worked as a case manager. I hit a period, I made my living with art for quite a while. And then I hit a period of some health issues and some life issues and went into a pretty deep depression, which was not anything I could have ever imagined for myself. Mm-hmm. And I realized in that space that helping other people and making art was going to be the therapy that actually helped me get myself on an even keel again. Yeah. And so at that point, I became very interested in art for healing, art for wellness. What kinds of art will help people think about how they think? Because if you stop and think about how you think, it kind of changes your whole perspective.
Yeah.
So I started working with nonprofits. I worked with a facility that had a 2-year program for homeless people. Or I guess they're unhoused people now. But it gave them 2 years to work on whatever created their homelessness, if it was, drugs or lack of education or what it was. And so that ran out of money.
Mhm.
And then from there, I went to a place called Bethany Hall, which was it was a recovery program for young girls who mostly had been, a lot of them came out of jail. But if we could get them into the program, they could get out of jail and come into the program and have their babies. And then from there, when that closed, I went to a reentry program with TAP. And it was guys coming out of prison who maybe had been there for 20 years. And so in this story, it's about me getting an education of working with different populations of people and to better be able to recognize their issues. And the whole time I was still bringing art into it and bringing art into helping them heal or helping them, progress through something.
You're diving into one of my favorite subjects.
Really?
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's definitely art for the product. You paint a picture, you create a sculpture, and there is a product. But to me, what I find the most intriguing is the process, how you get through that art.
Yes.
What you're thinking as you go, and how people use art to better express what they're thinking or feeling.
Yes.
And it seems to me like what you're saying is that you're bringing this opportunity to perhaps a population who didn't have that tool.
Yes. My passion for all of those years was to have an art studio that welcomed all of the different populations and the people who couldn't afford art or the people who might never be exposed to art to even find out if it was something that was beneficial to them or if they had a talent for it or something they could use in their life to work out their issues. And so that had been my dream forever. And I didn't realize until much later when I look back over the different places I was led to work and the different people I was led to work with, and the fact that I changed media. I will love something and I will dive into it with everything I have and learn everything I can. And then I'm ready to move on to something else. And for me personally, it's about having as many tools as you can have to tell your story. To say whatever you have to say. But it was all bringing me to what I have now, which is an art studio at the Rescue Mission working with the recovery program. And it's just the most wonderful thing I have ever done in my life is to work with these people and watch them use art for healing, use art to come, they'll come in the studio and say, Miss Beverly, I am so stressed out. I can't say, do you want me to give you something to do? And I'll give them a prompt and the materials, and they'll sit there for hours working on it.
Whether it's diversion or processing or just a project, getting out of their headspace.
Yes.
Sometimes you get stuck in that.
Yes.
In art, for me at least, it allows me to get out of that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think there's so many people that think about art as like it's a profession and you can sell it. And to me, yes, I want to have a beautiful piece when I'm done.
Yes.
But it's not at all about the piece when I'm working on it.
No.
It's allowing me to just get into my own senses of what I see and what I feel with my fingers, as opposed to making it perfect.
That was one thing I learned. It took me a while, but don't make art because you think it'll sell. Don't make art because it's popular and that's what other people are doing. When you make art, make it because it's something you're passionate about, whatever that story is. It's your story, and to do it with no regard to whether it'll sell or people will like it. Just do it because you have to do it.
Right,
and ultimately it will be a success.
Yeah. It's funny you say, I was a high school theater teacher for 20 years.
Oh, cool.
And I had so many students who would see the stars on Broadway who would look at these icons and do everything they could to try to change themselves to be that.
Yeah.
And eventually I had to say, do it for you.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to constantly try to chase what it is to become castable, to become marketable,
right,
like you're playing a silly game.
Yeah, you lose your uniqueness.
Right.
You lose yourself.
Right. And if you can put yourself into that and just be who you are and bring yourself to the room, that authenticity might actually be what sets you apart.
Yes.
As opposed to having the same hair color that everybody else does and the same clothing size that everybody else does.
Right.
It's, obviously bring your skill, but bring your heart too.
Right. You have to have the skill, obviously.
Right. So I want to talk again a little bit about your background in art, because the more you talk, the more you mention new things that you dabble in. So you said you started in sculpture?
Yes, I started in sculpture. I was fascinated with, of course, like Michelangelo, Rodin. So I was I want to learn how to do that. Well, I gave that up pretty quick. That's pretty hard. So I started, this, like I said, it's almost 50 years ago, doing sand sculpture, which was just something oddball. I'd never even heard of it. And you sculpted.
I'm not sure I know what that is. So tell me what that is.
Yeah. You sculpted wet sand. I had real fine. I'd go to the foundry and get sand that they had used to pour molds.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, very fine. And I had these big bins of sand, and I would sculpt relief from the back, and then have a mixture of plaster and marble dust and things like that you then pour in. And then when it sets up, of course, you destroy your mold, but you take it out and you brush it off and you add anything else you're going to add to it. So that was my first. I was, oh yeah, that's fun. Mm-hmm. And then I went to clay, and clay was amazing. I love clay. I still love clay. And for quite a few years, I had the opportunity to do custom one-of-a-kind, gigantic. Some of them are, maybe 10 by 12 feet installations, one-of-a-kind installations, because they would start, I'd roll out a slab of clay, draw the picture, do the relief sculpture, and put it through the rest of the process. I got kind of burnt out on it because it became a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Producing a product. The art part was over when I submitted the drawing, and the interior designer said, yeah, they approved it. That's cool.
But can we do this? I feel like from an art perspective, that's hard. You know, like they look at the design, they're like, that's really great, but can we fix this? Can we tweak
that?
This?
Actually didn't happen.
Okay.
No,
great.
That actually didn't happen. Amazingly, now that you say that, for me, it was more, I would say, as I got into it, because I'm so intuitive, and in my art, I let it just I feel my way through it. And I would see a place where it could be, I would think, so much better or so much more dramatic or such a bigger impact, but I couldn't change it because it had already been approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And that was the thing that finally got me, that I lost that sense of intimacy with what I was doing with the medium and with the production of something creative, because that line was cut off there. Yeah. And so
what I'm hearing you say is, like, while you love to plan, you also love to blow up your plan.
Oh yeah. And move on.
Yeah. So, as an artist, would you say that that's kind of one of your approaches, that you have an idea, mm-hmm. you go with that idea until that's not the idea anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I went from there to doing assemblage art because I love the challenge of learning.
So what's assemblage art?
Assemblage art is, I almost brought a piece to show you today. It is where you take just a lot of different things, items. It could be a baby shoe or a watch or whatever, and you put them together and tell a story and create a sculpture that tells a story. And that was fun. I did a huge body of work doing that. And I went to an art show and I won first place, and I didn't sell one item. And I went, well, that was fun. What's next?
Yeah, one of those things where people look at it, they're like, I love that, but I can't hang it in my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think that's a challenge for all artists. Again,
Yes.
creating what you love versus creating what will sell.
Yeah.
You know, like I see that in a gallery, that there are pieces and there's two thoughts where I'm like, I can respect that. I can love that.
Yeah.
But that's not going to go in my living room.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think it has to be that person's story.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's their story, they can identify with the story or what story they see in it, then they're more apt to. But it takes it to a place where it's not just like, oh, this is pretty, I'm going to take this home and put it in my home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that goes back again to doing the things that satisfy you and telling your story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see, I'm thinking about some of the outreach work that you've done and how an assemblage piece actually could be super powerful.
Yeah.
For folks like that to embrace their story, to examine their story, to try, I think so many people who are grieving or who are in a depressive state or who are working through those things, they have a very difficult time putting any of it into words that anybody can understand.
Yes. Yeah. It's a language. Yeah.
I'm ready to go home and do one.
Yeah. I had a young woman at the rescue mission, and her counselor had told her, because she had all this pent up feelings and anger and all this, and her counselor told her, go make a piece of art that expresses that. So she came in and she told me. And so I said, okay, I got you, girl. So we took a big canvas and we took it out and set it in the grass. And I had her get a plate full of colors. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, what makes you mad? All right, think about that. All right, why does that make you angry? Mm-hmm. Why does that make you feel angry? I mean, put it. And she was just pretty soon she was just throwing paint and it was amazing. And when she finished it, there were some little roses. I like to provide a lot of different things for them to use to express themselves. And there were some little tiny roses, and she put those in these 3 places, which was representative of her family, which her family dynamic was part of why she was where she was. Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah.
Again, it's where the process is sometimes more important than the product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Speaking of process, we haven't even we're 3/4 of the way through this, and I haven't even talked to you about the main reason we've got you here. So Beverly is starting some classes at the Bauer Center.
Yes. Yay.
This is your first dabble, although I think we're going to steal you and have you dabble in lots of different things. And this is in weaving specifically.
Yes.
Full disclosure, she came in with an entire bin full of her stuff and said, hey, let me show you what I can do. And I fell in love with it. And I said, can I hang it on my walls? And I kept it. And, I love looking at it because I do think it tells a story, but I also love how just uniquely you've approached it. I've done weaving since I was in 1st and 2nd grade.
Have you? Cool.
Yeah, but not anything like this, which I think is what just attracted me to it. So tell me, how did you land into weaving?
Okay, that's another interesting story. I was running the art studio at the rescue mission, and they had a donation of what they told me was these huge felt pieces. They turned out not to be felt, but they asked me to make some wall hangings for their dining room. And so I thought, well, that would be interesting and different. And my COVID skill had been learning to paint pictures on clothing.
Yes.
And so that's a whole other skill over here. But that was COVID skill. But anyway, I started doing research, and I thought, it'd be kind of neat to have some kind of fiber hanging or something like that. And so the more I researched it, then of course I started being introduced to weaving, which I had never even really looked at before. I thought it was the big loom and you go, make some cloth and that's it.
Making a tablecloth or napkin.
Yeah. And so then I thought, well, that's interesting. So I bought this little loom on Amazon, and I was teaching a mixed media class. and there was only a couple people there, and they were pretty self-sufficient to themselves. So I got that out and started playing with it. I still have that first little weaving. And I thought, well, that's kind of fun. And then the more I dug into it, of course, then I have to take it as far as I can. I have to keep pushing it. I have to learn more. Okay, so I've got this. Well, then how do I make it look like this? Or how do I make it do this? Well, what are these materials? And why do they work? And, oh, I love art yarn. Ooh, it's expensive. Maybe I should learn how to spin it. And it just kept progressing and progressing. And I still love it. I still feel there's a story in each one. I love nature, and so a lot of it kind of leans that way. But I also have a class I want to offer at the Bauer Center, maybe this winter, maybe some other time, that's weaving your story. And it could be as simple as that baby blanket that you've saved forever, or, a scarf of your mom's that you're keeping all this stuff in a box. Well, how wonderful would it be to incorporate it into a weaving where you can see it every day? It can be part of your life rather than in a box that you look at once in a while. And I think for some people too, it would afford them the opportunity to think through maybe some of the places in their life that have been bumpy, or some of the ecstatic times. But just in the back and forth of weaving, being able to experience that story and let it flow out of you.
Right.
Over here, I think that would be a really cool class to offer.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about the pieces of yours that I've seen is, and now that we've talked, I see where it's coming from, is you definitely have this mixed media approach to it. So it's not just yarn on a loom.
No.
You're going to integrate pieces of bark, pieces of barnwood, small, it wasn't pine cones. I'm not even sure what it was, but I look at that one every day and think, I would have never thought to put that in there. So finding these elements or components that are part of that, that make it very organic.
Yeah.
I think that I'll let all the listeners know we will post some photos along with this today of what some of her work looks like, so you can kind of see what we're talking about. Cool. So I want to ask, when you're making a piece, how do you select things like color and shape and form?
It is absolutely intuitive. I may have a vague idea. I want to do something that kind of represents the forest, maybe. And so I'll just start picking out material, and I just start and just let it lead me through the piece.
So are you one of those material hoarders?
Oh, yeah.
Where you have just banks of things to go from?
Yeah. My husband calls my the place where I store my yarn the yarn barn. It's a spare bedroom that is full of yarn.
but you might use it one day, and it might be the exact
Absolutely. And I just collect it. But for my students and for these classes, I love to share what I learn, and I love to help introduce other people to something that they might not have thought would be something they would enjoy, or something that would be a passion in their life. Because, look at the odd way I was introduced to it, just purely by somebody saying, hey, how about doing this? And, I'm really, really strong on the therapeutic and wellness benefits of art.
Yeah.
So, for students coming in, I want them to have that experience, of being able to just kind of lose themselves in what they're doing and choosing the color. And I have a structure for the class, but I let them lead. I let the student decide, or the student group decide which way they're going to go.
Yeah.
And one time I tried to keep it real rigid. Okay, we're making this. And they rebelled.
Yeah, it falls into crafty at that point a little bit when you're following step by step.
Yeah.
First do this and then do this. I love that explorative idea. So what are you working on now?
Now,
For you personally, as an artist, what are you working on now?
Oh, okay. Well, right now I'm landscaping.
Still an art.
Still an art.
A frustrating art.
But no, you've talked to me about the fiber show next year. Mm-hmm. And so in the back of my mind, I want to go bigger and, try to incorporate more elements that make it more sculptural and unique. And so that's kind of going on in the back of my head. Looms are expensive. Mm-hmm. So I did a piece that was maybe 4 foot by 8 foot to hang in my in our basement's mm-hmm. like a big room that you can have parties in. But I didn't want to spend the money on the loom. So I went to Lowe's and got 2x2s and furring strips and just put them together and just did the whole warp thing. Mm-hmm. And I wove the whole piece on that. And so learning that you can do that just inspired me again to how big can I go? Yeah.
Those of you that will take a look at some of these pieces, you'll see that she'll make a loom out of literally anything.
Yes. Yeah. I've got a cigar box that I wove on.
It's interesting in the pieces that you gave me that a couple of them you have were just pieces of bark that are the loom that have nothing woven in them. And I find those pieces just as intriguing to see like this is where you start and this is where you begin. And she just tacked it onto a piece of bark.
Yeah. What I actually do is drill holes in it and then weave the warp. What's your warp, which is the up and down pieces. Mm-hmm. We actually weave those through there. And then you can come back with your weft, which is the cross pieces, and do whatever kind of design you want to. And so it's actually integrated into the bark.
Yeah. I guess I haven't turned it around to look at it. I grew up in it's art, don't touch it.
Oh, that's one of the things I love about this is it is so tactile. I mean, it's just, you can do it. You can rub it. It's all right.
I have secretly touched a couple of your pieces in the hallway because they just ask to be as you walk by. Yes,
they do.
Gently, always with clean hands. All right. So I gave you a list of questions, and I'm not sure we asked one single question on this whole list. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, this is an infectious personality. She's going to be a great addition to our Bauer Center teaching.
Oh, I'm excited.
And I know we're starting with weaving, but that's not all we're going to let her keep doing because, when it comes to 3 dimensions and exploration, it seems like that's just your thing.
Yes.
And I love that. So Beverly, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I know I'm excited to have you part of our Bauer team. And remember, if anybody is interested in signing up for Beverly's classes, you can find that at our website, bowercenter.org, under the Education and Classes tab. Also, be sure to stop by and take a look at her beautiful work in the Art Around the Corner space on the 2nd floor at Bauer Center. And just a reminder, there is so much available for art lovers of all ages. We have registrations for our summer programming, a full menu of classes and camps that is open. Be sure to check the website for all of those options. On June 13th, we have a doubleheader in performances. In the afternoon, we're going to welcome children's musician Sarah Ernst for our next Cab Kids Free Family Art Day. And then that evening, with support from Virginia Commission for the Arts, we're bringing in the Kayla Simone Trio from Hampton Roads, and they're going to bring us an evening of R&B, soul, and jazz. In July, we are announcing and hosting a very merry unbirthday party in collaboration with a local production company, World Weavers, on July 11th. This is for all you Alice in Wonderland fans. It will be a night of immersive entertainment with dancing, quests, and of course, the best Alice in Wonderland costumes you can create. The next weekend after that, July 18th, we welcome back bluegrass trio Virginia Hollow from Floyd. And of course, in our galleries right now, we are excited to partner with the National D-Day Memorial in order to bring you the life and art of Charles M. Schulz. In addition to his Peanuts fame, many people did not know that Sparky Schulz was the capital campaign manager for your local D-Day Memorial from 1998 until his death in 2000. And we're so happy to work together to bring his art and life to you. For more details on all of our classes, events, programs, and exhibitions, you can visit bowercenter.org, follow us on social media, or just stop in and say hello. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all soon.